You know I love me a good list, right? I love going over them, love reviewing them, love talking about them, just don't like making them. And today's going to be no different because the 33rd team, they went through every single AFC team and they compiled what or who they feel every AFC team's biggest X factor is in order for them to have success this season. Now, a lot of times it'd be so easy to say, oh, the quarterback. And depending on which team, that could be very, very true. And even when speaking specifically of the Baltimore Ravens, because you could throw in, oh, Lamar Jackson, he's the biggest X factor for the team. And it could be, oh, okay, we get it. But in my opinion, even before a player, I think probably the biggest X factor for the Baltimore Ravens is health. Health. Because that's, in my opinion, the biggest question mark when it comes to so many different players on the team and so many different positions on the team is health. Can the Baltimore Ravens stay healthy? Hopefully they can. Because if they can, but we'll talk about that later. But from the 33rd team, let's just go through some of the other teams that they talked about and what their biggest X factors are. They said for the Bengals, biggest X factors are Daxton Hill. They said for the Browns, biggest X factor is Elijah Moore. For the Steelers, it's Minka Fitzpatrick. For the Bills, it's Mitch Morse. For the Dolphins, it's Christian Wilkins, Zach Seiler, former Raven, and Jordan Phillips. For the Jets, it's DJ Reed. For the Patriots, it's Juju Smith-Schuster. For the Colts, it's Quentin Nelson. For the Jaguars, it's Evan Ingram. For the Texans, it's C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. For the Titans, it's Treylon Burks. For the Broncos, it's Michael Burton. For the Chargers, it's Trey Pipkins. For the Chiefs, it's Donovan Smith. And for the Raiders, it is Chandler Jones, excuse me. So those are who the 33rd team feels like are the biggest X factors for those teams. And I know probably a lot of y'all like, man, we ain't care about none of that other stuff. We want to hear about the Ravens. And it lists the Ravens' biggest X factors as Odafe Oweh and David Ojabo. And initially, when you think about that, you could think, those two unproven pass rushers in the NFL? Really? Those are the Ravens' biggest X factors. But when you really sit down and step back and take it all in, it can be like, oh, no. I get it. That makes sense. Because, again, taking injuries out of being the biggest X factor, removing Lamar Jackson from being the biggest X factor, this is probably the position on the team right now where we stand that has the biggest question mark. But if this question can be answered with a satisfactory answer, or if this answer that we get from David Ojabo this year and Odafe Oweh can exceed expectations, that would set everything up so lovely. It really would. Because while us as Ravens fans are not being arrogant at all, but a lot of us feel like the run defense should be okay. It normally is. That's what we're used to. For the most part, they do have some games where they just look like, hey, why you just letting that guy run past like that? But for the most part, the majority, it should be straight. But pass rush is where there's a big concern. And there's even a big worry by some people. What are the Ravens going to do at pass rush? So many people have talked about the possibility of bringing Justin Houston back. So many people have talked about the possibility of adding a Jadeveon Clowney. In a recent article, it was even brought up that maybe the Ravens should add Melvin Ingram. But where the team stands right here, right now, they don't have any of those guys. They're rocking with one first-round pick, that being Odafe Oweh, and somebody who would have been a first-round pick in David Ojabo. Now, so far, so good, even though it is still early. Training camp hasn't even started yet because everything that we've been hearing about David Ojabo has been great. We've been hearing so many positive reports that he is just taking over. He's been killing it. He's just been doing this thing. Well, when they were practicing, we know they're off right now, but everything that we heard about David Ojabo has been outstanding, and we love that. We love that. That's a beautiful thing, but it's not everything. It is a great start, though. Don't get me wrong, because we would much rather like hearing stuff like that than, oh, man, David Ojabo, he looks bad. David Ojabo, he looks slow. David Ojabo, he looks like he's not ready. David Ojabo looks like he hasn't transitioned well to this part of the NFL right now. We would much rather hear the positive things than hear stuff like that. But when you really think about it, and a lot of times I got to remind myself, like, I can't base David Ojabo based off of last year, because last year was essentially a redshirt year for him. He had coming off the torn Achilles injury that he got in the pre-draft workouts, and that really just messed up his entire season. That killed his the majority of his season, because we know he did play a tiny bit for the Baltimore Ravens last year. So he was supposed to be at the latest a top 15 pick, but probably a top 10, maybe even a top 5 pick, possibly. But the world will never know because of the injury. But the Ravens, they picked him up last year. They knew what it was, and they were like, you know what? We're going to rock with it. And Ravens sort of, especially recently, they have a habit of doing this. They'll take a guy who they know they see potential in, and then they'll either draft or sign him, and they'll bank on him for the future. They remember Juwan James. Juwan James had tore his ACL during a workout off-site from the Broncos a couple years ago. Broncos cut him, and Ravens were like, "Oh, let's sign that guy. We're gonna bring him in," and they did that. And again, we all knew, Ravens expressed, "Oh, it's gonna be a redshirt year for him, his first year with us." And then next year, we'll hope to get something out of him. Then he ended up winning the right tackle job, I think. But then he tore his ACL in like week 1 or something like that. It's unfortunate. Then with the offensive lineman this year, I know I'm going to mess up his name, not Voorhees. I forget what his name is. My apologies. I know y'all will remember, though. But they drafted him. Like, they traded back into the draft because they were done. But they traded back into the draft to draft him because he tore, I forgot what he tore. Maybe his Achilles, but he had an injury that has prematurely ended his season this year. But the Ravens were like, "Oh, no. We are going to draft him for the future. He's not going to play this year, but he'll be ready for the future." So they did it with him. So with David Ojabo, this is nothing that's really new, but it seems to be something that the Ravens are looking into more than ever nowadays. So now this year, they hope to get the benefits. They hope to reap the benefits of that sort of risk with David Ojabo. But it'll be a beautiful thing if he blossoms into that pass rusher that he was projected to be in the NFL. But then alongside him, his buddy, his partner, his friend, pretty much his brother, Odafe Oweh. No, Odafe Oweh's had probably overall a disappointing first couple of seasons in the league. Been some highs, been some high highs. I think probably the highest high for him, well, actually for me, I can't say for him, the highest high for me with Odafe Oweh was in that Chiefs game in 2021. Whole team injured this week 3. What was it, Sunday Night Football? Or was it Monday night? Either way, it was prime time. And the Chiefs, they got another chance. They got another shot. And Odafe Oweh, knocked the ball out there and recovered it as well. Game over. Oh, we went crazy. And Odafe Oweh has provided us with some nice moments throughout the years, but there's just been a lack of consistency. And it's not like he's that far off. He's right there. He's right there. My guy, Jason, he explained to me with Odafe Oweh, like he got to get off the line quicker. If he gets off the line quicker, it's game over. It's game over. Now, Ravens do have the pass rush specialist as a coach. So hopefully he can just help Odafe Oweh really turn that corner, like literally and figuratively, right? Get it? Turn that corner, like he's a pass rusher. So help him turn that corner so he can show why, hey, Ravens, pick up this 5th-year option on me. I need it. I deserve it. Y'all need it. Y'all deserve it from me. Because again, he's close. He so many plays. He's so close to making so many. So close. Now, he makes some now. But there are other ones where he just missed them. Just came up short. Just by the hair of his chinny chin. So I'm glad that we're there instead of him being far off. Because if he was far off, then that would be a problem. And with those two guys being listed as the X factors, somebody who, because they've been getting all the attention, somebody who a lot of us have been forgetting about, we just have not been talking about, with the Pats, Tyus Bowser. We ain't been saying nothing about Tyus Bowser. And he just been there. last year he was coming back from the injury that he faced the year before, but now he should be fully healthy, ready to go. But it's been so quiet on him. Ain't nobody's been saying a word about him. Tybo, Bowser, shout out to Mario. But having him there, especially at this point in his career, because not that he's at a crossroads, but it's almost like he's at a crossroads because Ravens did re-sign him a couple years ago now. But I feel like this will be a year where Ravens are like, all right, Ty, it's like, hey, what is it going to be? What's it going to be? So hopefully he can do his thing too. But yeah, it's something to think about and keep in, not even in the back of our minds, but in the front of our minds. Because I know a lot of Ravens fans, when you ask them, hey, what's your biggest concern on the roster right now? What do you feel like the Ravens need to add a veteran or need to add somebody to just get better at? And a lot of people will say pass rush. They'll say pass rush, defensive end, outside linebacker, edge, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, man. So as far as those guys being the X factor, I can definitely see it and rock with it. I understand it, and I think I do. I think I agree with it. Yeah.